For decades, the Academy Awards existed as a self-contained ecosystem of prestige and glamour. It was the one night a year where Hollywood expected the world to stop and marvel at its perceived magic. This ceremony was the ultimate night of the monoculture. It didn't just reflect global entertainment tastes, it dictated them, serving as the definitive cultural authority for millions of viewers across the globe. But the data from the mid-2010s shows a sudden fracture in that dominance. Ratings plummeted as the industry's grip on the public's attention began to slip away, marking the start of a rapid decline in relevance. To understand the mechanics of this collapse, we can look through the lens of two alternate reality parody treatments. These scripts imagine a world where the ceremony's carefully managed prestige is dismantled from the inside. In both scenarios, comedian Dave Chappelle hijacks the broadcast. He abandons the teleprompter for the 2016 and 2020 ceremonies, forcing the room of elites to confront the unfiltered reality they typically work to avoid. The 2016 parody begins at a time of peak industry tension. While the real ceremony was hosted by Chris Rock amidst the Oscars So White controversy, the parody envisions a much more radical departure. By following Chappelle's fictional disruptions across these two ceremonies, we can see the specific pressures that caused the Hollywood pedestal to crumble. In the 2016 treatment, Chappelle's first act is to replace the traditional Oscar categories with the year's most unhinged viral news. The Academy standard is traded for the logic of internet memes. The script mocks the idea of professional choreography by awarding Best Supporting Actress to Left Shark, the backup dancer who became a global hero simply by forgetting his routine and descending into raw, offbeat chaos on live television. Traditional method acting was also eclipsed by digital culture. While Leonardo DiCaprio underwent extreme physical suffering in The Revenant, the parody highlights that the public was far more engaged with the internet's relentless memes about his desperation to win. Even the presidency was pulled into this viral orbit. Chappelle awards original screenplay to the Thanks Obama format, showing how the public had begun reducing complex global leadership into a series of predictable, interactive punchlines. This was the era where digital virality achieved total dominance over traditional media. The public was no longer waiting for Hollywood to tell them what was interesting. They were manufacturing their own entertainment in real time. Multi-million-dollar prestige cinema was struggling to compete. Authenticity, even in its most chaotic and unrefined forms, was capturing more global attention than the industry's most polished products. By 2020, the parody scripts reflect a much harsher tonal shift. The absurdist distractions of meme culture are gone, replaced by a confrontational and cynical reality. Chappelle evolves into a blunt truth-teller. He stands before the audience without a filter, utilizing the stage to call out the systemic hypocrisy inherent in the industry's elite gatherings. The script targets performative activism. It highlights the disconnect between the real world and out-of-touch moralizing delivered during acceptance speeches, like Joaquin Phoenix's intense lecture on the artificial insemination of cows. The parody also directly confronts the Academy's racial isolation. Chappelle points to Cynthia Erivo, forcing the room to acknowledge the uncomfortable optics of a single minority nominee in a room of 20 acting slots. Hollywood's self-indulgence comes under fire as well. The treatment mocks legendary directors for producing exhaustively long films like The Irishman, while the real world outside the theater moved with much more urgent stakes. The public's relationship with the industry had shifted by 2020. A growing awareness of class divides and social inequality made a night of elite self-congratulation feel increasingly abrasive to those outside the room. The climax of the 2020 parody centers on the night's biggest winner, Parasite, a South Korean thriller that is explicitly about the violent consequences of extreme class warfare. In a final mic drop moment, Chappelle highlights the irony of the situation. He points out that the world's richest and most elite demographic is gleefully celebrating a film about the impoverished lower class secretly living in a basement. These treatments highlight a significant change in the cultural landscape. The most compelling dramas are no longer confined to the silver screen. They are increasingly being found in the unfiltered reality of everyday life. The isolation of the Hollywood bubble eventually became unsustainable, As the real world grew too loud to ignore, the industry's pedestal collapsed, forcing the elites to finally look into the mirror.